Welcome to Web Handling. My name is Dave Roysum. I am super excited to continue our Motley series with this super fun episode on making messes as a problem-solving technique. A mess is easy to define. It's an increase in waste, delay, and customer complaint. In this episode, we will confine the definition to processes rather than also include people issues, which don't lend themselves to this technique. So, why in the world would you want to make a mess? Simple. It is to learn how to decrease waste, delay, and customer complaint by understanding the connection between process settings and desirable or undesirable outcomes. The general troubleshooting process involves 4 steps, as I teach in my industrial problem-solving course and books. They are define, determine, decide, and do. The best time to make a mess is in the determine segment of the problem-solving process. Here, we want to generate and test working theories on the mechanics of how the mess is made. Of course, just as there are good times to make a mess, there are also terrible times to make a mess. These times would include Friday afternoon during a night shift, or when production is falling behind shipping dates. Another time that's not so great to make messes is when bosses are looking. They may not always be good problem solvers and thus not helpful for what is to come next. So how do we go about making a mess? Well, we need to change a variable or two that working theories might suggest and observe the results with respect to an objective or measurable property. Note also that we may move other outcomes and properties that, while not part of the working theory, must also be considered later on in the decision-making process. These unintended consequences could be helpful, hurtful, or both. So the next decision is how to vary the variables suggested by our working theory. This is a complicated judgment that involves sampling, statistics, and economics. There may not be a knowable right or best answer, but we still have to make a choice anyway. The safest choice is to let natural variation to do the work for us. This is safest because it is status quo and thus would not be expected to make more work or more defects. Slightly riskier is to make small moves, ones that are within the range of SOPs or common practice. The last option is not just risky, it is nearly guaranteed to make defects and other troubles. This is the maximum move, just short of instant failure of the process, such as a web break or jam or other problem. So, why would we consider such a risky move as to be near the onset of breakdown? The answer is quite simple. You will get answers much more quickly, often in a single roll, or even as little as 1 single minute. If, for example, the maximum moves show little resulting effect on the measurable objective function, then there's no point in further trials with that knob. If, on the other hand, a clear result is shown, we can then do longer trials at more modest changes to calibrate our response. All of this is a bit abstract, So let's make this more practical by giving an example. This example is that a working theory suggests that the lay-on roller nip makes a specific winding defect worse. Note the objective function is that one defect, though we will certainly observe and document other effects, both good and bad. In this example, we will take a normal nip load setting and compare it to half of that amount as well as double that amount. This size of move is probably enough to observe a change, such as more or less of a specific defect, but may not be so much as to break the process down. In this next example, we will define a working theory that taper tension affects type 1A telescoping. Note how specific this objective function is. Not just any winding defect, but rather telescoping. And not just any telescoping, but rather type 1A, which is presumably the one that is troubling you the most. In any case, the temptation would be to vary the taper from min to max. However, that is short-sighted. What about no taper? Or how about reverse taper? The following 4 patterns will easily show the results for even the weakest connection. Note that we are not trying to find the optimum taper. That would come in the next study, but rather to find out whether taper matters at all, and approximately what patterns is best if it does matter. So let's be clear. Max and min are not the range allowed by SOPs, or even the range where the defects begin. Max and min are near the onset of material and process breakdown. If you don't know where these limits are, ask an operator. If neither of you know, turn the suspected knob until it is pegged or the web or roll breaks down. This is the fastest way to determine connections. Later we can be more modest and define connection strengths and using more modest moves. Of course, bold moves such as these for determining process capabilities are not for everyone, especially for those faint of heart. Fear is a big barrier. Fear of making a mess, fear of costing money, fear that someone will see the mess, especially the customer. Which brings me to an observation that I share in my industrial problem-solving writings. That is, the devil you know is preferable to the devil you don't. Thank you so much for letting me share my thoughts about messes as a tool for troubleshooting. Stay tuned for next week when we show how you might want to interact with a competitor. If you have a topic you would like to hear about, let me know in the comment section below. If you found any of these stories to be interesting or useful, please like and share and subscribe. And remember to check out the show notes for surprises. See you next time.